With the 2026 elections approaching fast, South Africa is seeing legal and diplomatic issues playing out. There's courtroom rulings, there's international tensions, commissions of inquiry as well. And they are about power, legitimacy, but also how different political actors are setting up the stage for 2026. Let's look at some of the stories from this week, its impact on security at large in South Africa. For this conversation, Willem Els, Senior Training Coordinator from the ISS, is going to be joining us. Willem, good morning, and thank you for joining us at this hour.
Good morning, Lisa.
Right, so there's been a lot that's happened this week. Perhaps one story that stood out, Julius Malema's conviction. We're obviously looking at whether this is a political security litmus test at large. Talk to us about what's being unearthed on that front. What precedents does this also set? I mean, just also ahead of local government elections, where we're trying to ascertain whether this makes him politically weaker, or is this a time for, those who are part of the anti-establishment perhaps also to come forth and joining on some of that action?
Yeah, it was quite a week, and that was one of the big cases that we had. Of course, it's been running for some time, and the verdict that actually the sentencing and the verdict, it took 2.5 days. It was nail biting, but at the end of the day, he was found guilty. And that also poses a lot of new questions and also some new dynamics in the political realm. Because, the maximum sentence there is 15 years imprisonment. We have to wait and see for the 23rd what's going to happen there. He might get a jail sentence, or he might get a suspended sentence with a hefty fine. We do not know what's going to happen there. But that's not the end of the road for him, because at the end of the day, he can go on appeal to the higher court and to the Supreme Court of Appeals. So there's a lot of time that's going to pass. Still, we have a final verdict there. But on the political realm, of course, now it puts him in a league where he's under siege. He's been under siege for some time, since the last election, and that might just implicate his eligibility to even stand be a parliamentarian. Because there, if you receive a mandatory prison sentence of more than 1 year, then you are not eligible for the foreseeable future to actually serve in parliament.
Yeah, and I mean, we're also trying to look whether it marks a shift towards real political accountability, or is this selective applications of justice ahead of the 2026 elections? There are some questions about this, but you did also mention that there are some other legal options he can obviously pursue. But what happens if there is populist pushback as well?
Well, we can expect that given the situation, but we must just understand that I mentioned this happened, it's been coming for a while, this thing for 5-6 years that has already been there. And so at the end of the day, they will try to look at that. The moment you politicize something like this, of course, you put it in a different realm. But at the end of the day, the rule of law must be upheld, and we have to see that through. There will be some pushback from his party. They will try to make some political gains against that. And at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that happens, because we do not want to undermine the rule of law, but also it comes at a critical time, where the public wants accountability. We see with the Madlanga Commission and all the other revelations that are out, and also the Tembisa case that's coming to the fore. People or the public want accountability, and this might just be the first step towards that.
Yeah, well, Willem, thank you for speaking to that. I want to also look at another story that's come to our attention this week. We're seeing the issues of foreign policy playing out, security as well. South Africa's rebuke of Israel, of course, following the flotilla raid, which included the detention of Mandla Mandela, as well as Greta Thunberg and many others, about 450. So when we hone out and we look at security agencies monitoring the impact of international events on domestic mobilization, protests, digital misinformation, because we can't ignore that as well. Talk to us about what's also ideologically playing out on that front, the impact that it also has for local dynamics here.
Yeah, of course, there are different camps in the world at the moment, especially when it comes to the Israel question. We see that there's a lot of rhetoric. There's also a lot of propaganda that is coming from both sides. So the propaganda war is being fought most fiercely. We see that there were some developments over the past 24 hours, where there might be some truce, and also where the hostages might be released. A lot of pressure on Hamas, but also a lot of pressure on Israel in that area. So we're looking forward to see what will happen in the next 24 hours because of the deadline that's been set by President Trump for Hamas to sign, as he indicated that all the other countries have already agreed to this agreement, so the peace agreement. So at the end of the day, South Africa, of course, has been very vocal from the start. We took Israel to the International Court of Justice. We secured a ruling there. But at the end of the day, South Africa is very vocal for maybe their own reasons, and that is also playing out against the backdrop of our current tussle with the United States. So there's a lot happening in that area. But at the end of the day, with a focus on this flotilla, it came there, and it is actually, I don't know if it was planned, but it landed there on a very, very unfortunate day for them, because it was one of the most sacred public holidays for the Jewish people. So the whole country shut down. So those people who have been detained, it will take just a bit longer for them to be extradited or to be deported.
Oh, we are also monitoring those developments. Willem, I'm bringing that dynamic into the fore because we're also looking at the impact of other, relations. And we saw this week the passing of Nathi Mthethwa on foreign soil, the diplomatic implications on that front as well, given the sensitivity of the matter, some of the commissions that are also happening here. He has high profile political past as well. And so when we're looking at what has now transpired, we know that 5 top cops are going to be sent to assist in the investigation. But in terms of transparency for French and South African authorities as well, what's happening as we speak in terms of the dynamics and, the communique on that front?
Yeah, I think the police was very open when they announced it. This is not the first time that South Africa is actually sending some of our police officers to go and assist. A few years ago, when those, I think it was about 200 plus South Africans that got killed when the church collapsed in Nigeria, we also sent a team there to go and assist. But we must understand that we won't have any jurisdiction, we won't have any executive powers there. They go to assist the local police of that country. Of course, they are in charge, and they will lead and do all the work. It will just be, I think, an information sharing, and also see where South Africa can contribute towards the understanding there. So at the end of the day, that is what we must understand. Another thing also that we must understand there is that normally with these type of things, it takes a long time for information to be disseminated, etc., etc. Now we see they will be there for about a week, and upon their return, they will have a lot of information actually to share to our establishment, to our government, in order to inform them on what's happening, given the sensitivity of the case, but also the high profile of this event.
And Willem, just as we wrap up, the media also plays its role, right? And so when we're looking at the reports that are coming through from the media, how it's shaping the narratives that are also coming to the fore in this case as well, what impact does it have on public perception, political uses as well? What should we also be cautioning against at this point?
Yeah, perception is about 90% of everything. So just how that perception is being managed, and I think openness and transparency goes a long way to enhance and to create the perceptions that are conducive. So we know that social media is really rife with a lot of speculations, a lot of conspiracy theories around this whole thing. So the sooner there is some fact on the table through the official channels, it will actually contribute towards shaping the narrative on what has happened and what has transpired, because at the end of the day, it is not good for the country, but also we must understand that the family is also suffering because of that.
Yeah, and Willem, now we're wrapping up. The Madlanga Commission obviously is set to commence a little later in October. And given what it is exposing, right, allegations of political interference in areas such as KwaZulu-Natal, this is obviously going to come to the fore if we enter local government elections. And I wonder what we should be preempting at this point, given the history in the province as well, but also, some of the allegations that have come to the fore. How is this also going to be playing out, ensuring that there's going to be stability at large?
Yeah, all of that, of course, have an impact on the stability. And once again, it's about the management, how government, the Minister of Police, or the acting Minister of Police, and how they deal with this situation. We have full faith that they will do the right thing, and they will manage it rightly. Because at the end of the day, South Africa has never been at such a volatile point when our local population, the people on futsal level, are really fed up with crime. Our crime statistics are through the roof. Our criminality levels are extremely high. So it is our ideal opportunity now to start to intervene from a government's perspective, and also to start to shape the future by decisive action, but also for consequences for these people who have perpetrated these acts.
Yeah, well, Willem Els, we're going to continue to monitor those developments. Thank you for your time. We're going to leave the conversation there. Senior Training Coordinator at ISS, Willem Els, weighing in. Some of those top security stories we saw playing out this week, of course, it shapes domestic, legal and diplomatic implications, and they're still developing. But thank you to him for joining us and making sense of really what's transpired.